join me in welcoming the legend that is Alan Kennedy to Superstar Speakers. Thank you for giving us your time, Alan.
It's a pleasure. Thanks very much, and I'm looking forward to the next hour or so.
Should be fun. The questions are coming in already, Alan. So let's kick things off with Wayne McCartney, who is a massive Liverpool fan, and he's like, "What are your thoughts on Liverpool being so close to winning the league for the first time since 1990?"
Yeah, it's been a long time, hasn't it? And they are so close, and hopefully by this weekend, will it take any longer? If results go right and Liverpool get the result and Man City don't, then it's all over, isn't it? It's been a great season for Liverpool. I don't care what people are saying and how we've had this horrible pandemic, but Liverpool have produced some great football, and it's been very, very pleasurable to watch them play and the way they played. And I have to say, it's possibly similar to the team that I played in back in 1978-79 season. So all congratulations to them. Yep, they deserve it.
What do you think to them possibly winning it at Goodison Park as well, Alan?
Oh, well,
it's possible.
Anything's possible, isn't it? You know, the way they've, it's just the way they play football. They could go to any ground, any place, any team, and they could put on a performance. It's been mind-boggling. It really has. I've really enjoyed watching them play their football, and obviously they're all happy about it, and they just want to do it as quickly as possible. The main thing is that they're going to do it. But it's taken a long time, and it's been obviously nearly 30 years, and it's been close on a few occasions, but they've finally done it.
What will it do for the city of Liverpool and the fans of Liverpool to finally get that Premier League back onto the Mersey? What will the uplift of the city? What will that be like from someone who won 5 League One titles? What's it feel like to be part of that team who's getting them trophies?
Well, I think if you're a player, and you know the Man United players will tell you that as well. When you're part of a winning team, it goes on and on and on. You know, I was part of the team in '78, came to the club fresh as a daisy from that other massive club in the northeast, Newcastle, and a lot was expected of that time. And you know, you had to deliver the goods. If you don't deliver the goods, you're out the team. And I think that's exactly what's happened this season with Liverpool. You know, they produced the goods. I mean, if you look at last season, how many points did Liverpool accumulate? You know, 100 and whatever, 106, 107, whatever, and they get beaten. You know, by Man City, who were fantastic. So, you know, we have to look at that side of it. So Liverpool didn't particularly buy anybody in the close season. They end up keeping the same team, and of course, they reap the rewards by doing that. That's exactly, that's exactly what somebody like Bob Paisley or Sir Alex Ferguson would do to his team. He'd give them another chance, and he'd say, "Well, okay, take your chance. If you take it, great. If you don't, then we have to make changes." And that's exactly what Liverpool have done. They've kept the same team, and they've done very well.
It's going to be some parties on Merseyside in the next couple of weeks, isn't there, for sure? Like,
well, not from Everton's point of view, and if they do it at Goodison Park, like, or wherever they're going to play, I don't even know where they're going to play the game. You know, it's there, whatever it will be. But you know, we always say about this, ex-players and players. We always say about it's the time that the players get together. It's very, very important, and it's very important to keep a team together. Whether you've got 25 players or you've got 16, as we had in 1978. I think we only used 14 players. If I can remember rightly, there was only one sub in those days. You got on with it, and you know, you never seemed to get injured. You always wanted to play. If you were winning the team, that was the important side of it. Doesn't matter who scored the goals, whether it was the fullback, whether it was a centre back, whether it was a midfield player, and whether you've got a special player in Kenny Dalglish. Well, you know, he might think he should be scoring the goals, but there was others there as well helping him out. But it doesn't matter. It's about winning the game.
Absolutely right. Stuart Boyle has a question. He says, "Hi, Barney Rubble. Do you think your 1981 team would beat the current team? And do you think there's any similarities between yourself and Trent Alexander-Arnold?"
Oh, well,
Two questions.
Trent Alexander-Arnold is a fantastic player. He's a great athlete. He loves to get forward as probably what I used to,
Yeah.
and he gets himself into some great positions. I think a lot of the football today is slightly kind of say manufactured, because they know where they're going to put the ball. In our days, can I just tell you, I didn't have a clue where I was playing. If I was facing the opposition, I was doing well. If I wasn't, then I was struggling, coordination and all that. The modern day player is wonderful. He knows how to play, what to do, how to do things, and all that. We went out and we listened to the manager, and then you played your own game while you were out there. So a lot of us were classed as individuals, but you know, team games the team game was important from Liverpool's point of view, and consequently picking up all those trophies was just wonderful. You know, even your first one, even your last one, you think to yourself, I want more of this, and it drives you on. You know, that's exactly what it did for me. So Trent Alexander-Arnold is a great example of certainly me, you know, when I played for Liverpool 35 years ago.
Wow. Benji Smith asks, how much is having no fans in the stadium going to taint the title win, if at all?
Yeah, obviously players are used to fans being in there, and I'm sure there'll be one or two trying to sneak in, but we don't want that.
No.
We don't need that. We need the game to go ahead. You know, we need to get football back on track again, and we need to gently ease it in if we can. But Liverpool have an important game. It's a local derby. They want to win it. It doesn't matter whether they win it, you know, the following week. It just means that, you know, they want to win it as quickly as possible. Fans are very, very important. Simple as that. You know, they've been starved this season, certainly of football, and they need to get back on track. But safety comes first. It's as simple as that. And Liverpool need to put on a good show. You know, it's not going to be easy against a team that, you know, is very much a local team.
Absolutely. And the Everton players and the Everton team aren't going to want to let Liverpool win the title at Goodison, because that's the kind of thing that stays in the history book. I mean, you only look at Arsenal and Spurs. Arsenal won the title at White Hart Lane, didn't they? They still don't let them forget it now. It's things like that are important in football. Are you still there, mate?
Sorry, you were
Did I
just
go then?
breaking
Did
up
I?
a little bit there. I didn't quite.
Sorry. I was just
I
saying about like Everton
we were
aren't
getting
going
excited.
to. You got me?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I was just saying that
I'm
Everton are going to go all out to
hopefully
make sure Liverpool don't win the title there as well, aren't they? Am I breaking up again?
Yeah. Listen, Everton are a respectable team. You know, they've had the good and bad of this particular season. You know, but you know they will want to do their best. But I keep saying this, no matter which team it is, you know, whether it's Liverpool or whether it's Manchester City, or on the day, you know, if you catch the top teams in a good in a good mood, you're not going to beat them. You're
No.
simple as that. You know, you're going to struggle against them. And you know, that might be the case. That might be the case over the weekend. But whenever Liverpool do win the league, then they will deserve to have won it. You know, and for me, it's always nice. The sooner the better. If I can reflect back on 70, 78, 79 season, Liverpool had won the league with 5 games or 6 games to go in the season. And if you can remember, and you're only 40 odd, okay, if you can remember, it was 2 points for a win. And Liverpool had accumulated 60 points or something like that. So they went on to 68 points, I beg your pardon. And it was an all-time record for that particular season. We won the league quite comfortably by 8 points in those days. So winning the league is important. It starts the ball rolling for the next. We always said, you know, like when our chairman used to come in, and he used to say, "Listen, you know, start the ball rolling by winning the league, and then you can win the it might be the League Cup, it might be the European Cup in those days. So start the ball rolling, win the league, win the game, and then you can move on to the next one." That was our bread and butter in those days, I have to say, and it was great. I understood I understood, coming from Newcastle, what the rules were at Liverpool. If you got beat, you were liable to be out of the team. If you won, you've got a good chance of being in the team for the next game. So I made sure every time, like, you know, I said to all the players, "Lads, come on, let's please go out and win. Let's win, please." You know, because I want to stay in the team. I'd be the first out of it. You know, those other players wanting to take my place, and the pressure was always on. The pressure was always on, but like, I keep having to respond in the right way, and you know, it made me a better player by putting the pressure on me. So,
was there many differences between
I'm sorry,
Newcastle and
I'm
Liverpool?
keep going on.
No,
You know,
that's all about you, Alan. It's not about me. But was there many differences going from Newcastle to Liverpool? Because obviously Liverpool being this big dominant club in the country at that time, and Newcastle not so much. What was the big differences that you found between the two clubs?
yeah. Everything about the professionalism of the club. Liverpool were far and away more professional. They had a steady manager. You know, Newcastle had 3 or 4 managers in a short period of time. You know, they'd always had boardroom levels which were chaotic. That's all I can describe it as, because I just felt as though that the boardroom were making the decisions for the manager. You know,
Things haven't changed then, have they? Really, mate? To be honest,
I felt as though yeah, they to cope with. Yet when I went to Liverpool, there was no shenanigans going on. They were straight down the middle. They said, you know, if we win the league, then, you know, we'll give you let's say a bonus, you know, of whatever it might have been. I don't think I still didn't get that bonus. I don't think the first year, but the point is, like, you know, you had a standard at Liverpool, and the standard was very much higher at Liverpool than Newcastle. Newcastle were more of a let's say a cup team. You know, they got to the FA Cup final in '74. They got to the League Cup final in '76, but they couldn't push it forward. They couldn't, and I felt as though that Newcastle was in '78 when I left. They were going absolutely nowhere. They were struggling in that first division. And when the offer came in from Liverpool, I jumped at it straight away. And I said, well, where am I going? I'm going to the European champions. Oh, well, there you go.
Aye.
I wasn't bothered about getting in. I wasn't bothered about getting in the team at that particular time, because I knew time was on my side. I knew people like Joey Jones, people like Emlyn Hughes. I knew their time was coming up at Liverpool. So I was always destined to get in the team, and to get in the team in the first game of the season meant that, well, I've done something right, or they've done something wrong, but I'm in the team. I'm in there to stay. So there was always a pressure for me, more on Liverpool than it was at Newcastle. I felt as though I did my best for Newcastle, but it wasn't quite good enough, and other players, I think, reflected in that as well. But at Liverpool, every player was just the best in their position. It was brilliant to see.
When you signed for Liverpool, you were the British transfer record for a fullback at the time, which was £330,000. Did that add any extra pressure to you? Did you feel the burden of that, or was that just something that wasn't connected to you at all? Hey, there he is.
I think the official was 333,000.
Oh, did it go to the full third?
But I'm not sure where. Yeah, I'm not. It was a third of £1,000,000. Now that was quite significant in those days. Okay,
Yeah.
a third of £1,000,000. Now remember that. Okay, so but I don't know who got the extra £3,000, because I certainly didn't, and the club might have profited. Newcastle might have taken them, but to be fair to Newcastle, right? They accepted the bid, and I couldn't get down there quick enough. I couldn't get from Newcastle down to Liverpool quick enough. Now, I had days the most unreliable car I think I've ever had. I had a Triumph TR7 in those days. Right now, it was a bit. The floodlights, the headlamps came up and went down without
Like
you
that.
touching them.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, up and down, one at a time, They were that bad. I did get down to Liverpool, and I was so desperate to sign that I didn't even look at the contract. They all the press were there. It was done in a city, the hotel, and and Alan Kennedy signing here for Liverpool, and I'm just signing on the dotted line. So when I signed, I didn't know, when they were asking me, "Are you happy with the wages?" And I just looked. I said, "Yeah, of course I am." Yeah, didn't even know what I was signing for. I could have been signing for less than what I was on at Newcastle, which I wasn't. Okay, I was on £200. Remember this, £200 at Newcastle. So I was going to get how much was it? £400. And the tax man said, I'll have most of that." So it wasn't a good time to be moving football clubs, and to be expensive in terms of being the costing Liverpool a lot of money. Newcastle were profiting. Newcastle were taking the money. Liverpool were given the money, and they weren't bothered. They got their man, as they would say. They got their man, and quite rightly so. So it was a British transfer fee for the fullback, and it was only beaten. It was beaten a bit later. There was a player called Kenny Sanson, and Kenny Sanson, he went for, what did he go for? He went for just above my 333,000. I went for £250,000. He went for £1 million. And so he was into the England setup before me, and I was like pushed to the back a little bit. And so I didn't. I thought I was going to make my debut for England in that 77, 78 season, but I made it in the 84, 85 season. So he got all my caps, but I got all his medals.
I was
So
going to ask you about that because you only ended up with 2 England caps, didn't you? It was only 2 caps for your country. Do you ever feel like you should have had more, or are you happy with that, or like have you come to terms with that?
Yeah, I always felt I should have had a lot more, but the I sometimes think, and whether it's just personal thinking, I sometimes think that there were too many Liverpool players in the England team, and then people will call it the why don't you just pick the Liverpool team? Because if you look at the goalkeeper, Ray Clements, great goalkeeper, doing well. England, Phil Neal, regular right back for England. Phil Thompson, captain of Liverpool and I think England. Ray Kennedy, who was in there as well. They had Sammy Lee to a certain extent on the right hand side. Terry McDermott, David Johnson, and so they had like 7, possibly 8 players in the England setup. One more might have overtipped the balance for people saying, "Oh, why don't you just pick the Liverpool team?" And so I felt as though that Kenny Sanson, who was a very, very good young player coming up, got the run on me, and he ended up, as I said before, winning all my caps. I felt as though I got 2 in the end, and it was
Yes.
the the coach of England at the time was Bobby Robson, and he gave me the chance to play against Northern Ireland at Wembley and Wales. Would you believe, at Wrexham Football Club? So I felt as though maybe I should have had more caps, but I was quite happy just to get 2 in the end. So not 1, but 2. And can I say, they put the 2 caps onto 1 cap, if you know what I mean. So I got 1 cap, but I played twice for England. I was in a lot of squads. Right, I'm going to tell you, I was in a lot of squads, right? But left backs don't get used very often, you see. And I remember Bobby Robson in '85. I remember him ringing me up. He says, "Alan," he says, "I've just had to think about things, and you've done well, and you've been a good part of the squad, but I'm gonna leave you out of the next squad." And I said, "Oh." Oh, all right, Bobby. Like, sorry, boss. Like, all right, boss. Yeah. Who you gonna put in there instead of me? Well, there's a young lad doing all right at Everton called Gary Lineker. We're thinking about putting him in. I says, okay, right. Like, if you want, yeah, go on then. Like, So they put Gary Lineker instead of me. I'm claiming that. Claiming that. I don't care.
Nah, it's not too bad. We've had a little message come in for you from Michael Clark, and he says, "Hi, Alan. Hope you're well. It's Michael here from Donegal. A teammate of yours on a few occasions in Legends games. Alan Kennedy is the ultimate PR man for any club, takes time to talk and accommodate every fan, humble man and Mr. Reliable always during his time at Anfield." So, like, that's a nice thing. Like, what does it feel like when you get the fans who've still got a lot of love for you, taking the time to do that?
Yeah, well, but that's the person coming out in me, and I think Liverpool, to a certain extent, created created that person. And
Okay.
you know, I can only be who I am, and you know, all I want to do is to give something back to people. You know, give something a little bit, whether it's a little bit of talking to them, whether it's you know, just being nice, just a few words, whatever. It's an autograph. It's something. I don't mind that. I kind of like that. You know, when you get to our age, and I say our age, my age now, it happens less and less and less. But I do realize why, and you've got to accept when you're in the limelight, everybody
Hmm.
wants to talk to you, everybody wants to see you. But I just feel as though I've had me little bit. I've seen it, done it, got the T-shirt, and I'm quite happy in my own way of what I'm doing now and what I might be doing in the future. You know, we didn't know we were going to have a pandemic, and it's knocked us, everybody, for six, really. So it's just, you know, it just feels as though I want to get back to meeting and greeting and talking to people. I want to get back to my walking football. I want to get back to, you know, if I play a round of golf or something like that, I want to get back to that. So I do want to get back to the physical side of it, because it's been my life, and
Yeah.
talking to people has been part of it, and which I've, you know, really enjoyed. I love talking to people, and very nice of Michael to say the kind words about me. But you know, you put the hard work in all the time. That's the main thing about it.
Yeah, and it would be remiss of me not to say you've been a big part of our Liverpool Legends tour at Superstar Speakers as well. Do you enjoy those ex-players functions, like meeting, because you, Ronnie Whelan, and Steve McMahon we had together? Do you enjoy doing them and telling stories and meeting the fans from all different ages? That must be a hell of a pat on the back for you.
Yeah, there's lots of stories to tell about. Can I class them as the good old days?
You
You know,
can.
you know, okay. Um, dr- Drinking alcohol played a big part in most people's lives in our day, and none so more so than the Liverpool team. You know, but if they had a good session, you know, they played even better. And so, you know, Bob Paisley, our great manager, just said, as long as you're not embarrassing the club in any way, shape, or form, we don't mind sort of what you do, except obviously on a Friday night, and you're playing the game on the Saturday afternoon when the kickoff was generally 3 o'clock. You you don't embarrass the club that into it. And you know, we enjoyed winning things, but we also enjoyed the drinking afterwards. And one of the best things was when we played Man United one time, and on the pitch, Terry McDermott in the midfield, but there was also Brian Robson.
He
And
likes to drink.
Rob and Terry, like, a great mates, uh, and they were talking to each other. Terry, what are you going to drink? What do you want to drink after the game? And Terry's like, hang on, let me have a shot at goal. Let me have this shot at goal. Hang on. And then, you know, they were talking on the pitch, like, you know, and it was a race. It was a race when they finished the game. Okay, at 20-5, get in the dressing room. Forget the shower. Forget the shower. Just get straight into the bar. We're in the bar by 10-5. Honestly, we're in the
Brilliant.
bar by 10-5, and whoever won or whoever got beat, they buy the drinks. So it was generally Robbo buying the drinks.
Yeah, that sounds like Robbo. So who was the biggest drinker at
Oh,
Liverpool then?
he was fantastic. The biggest drinker.
Yeah, who was the biggest drinker at
Terry
Liverpool
Mack was
then?
the biggest drinker.
Yeah.
Um, well, I spilled most of mine. I didn't. Alan Hansen did like a little pint or two, a little pint or two. Terry McDermott was the best of all of us, like, you know, and he was consistent. Now, considering football interfered with his drinking habits, then it was like, you know, it was unbelievable how he even coped, with getting on the pitch and playing the way he did. You know, he could outrun anybody, he could outthink anybody. He was just a great footballer, and what a great man as well, off the pitch as well. Brilliant.
Right, it's going to be remiss of me not to ask Benji
It's
Smith.
funny, I mean, how.
Go on, sorry.
No,
Right,
it's just, you know, why are we talking about something that, you know, alcohol, and you know, none of the players drink anything like that now, or take anything, and you know, like, but it it was just a relaxant more than anything. It made us feel, okay, we finished the game, we can now have a breather, we can, you know. And Bob Paisley, to be fair to him, and the other managers after him, they were quite happy with us doing that. It was only when it reached a bad level in the 90s that did the manager then come down heavily on some of the players. And you know, you've seen from Harry's heroes the problems Razor Ruddock has faced over the years, and probably still does. But you know, it shows more on the bigger people than the smaller people.
I mean, it's a good team builder, though, isn't it? Going for a pint with the lads, it's a good way to build a team and build a rapport with the boys, isn't it? And it wasn't an era of social media. You could go away and have a couple of pints and not worry about being taken pictures of and getting straight in the paper.
Well, do you remember at Howard Kendall at Everton? And he had been, he was pretty close to maybe getting the sack in about 1980. I don't know if it was 81 or 82, but you know, they played a game, and they managed to win the game away from home, and all the lads had been out for a midweek drink, and he thought that was the answer to Everton's, you know, to win games. So they went out the following Wednesday, and on the Saturday they won again. And the other lads said, "This is great, isn't it? Like, we're getting absolutely, you know, I can't swear on the television, but we're getting absolutely, and we're
You can say
enjoying
it.
it."
Go on.
Yeah, bollocksed. Yes,
That's
we're
the one.
getting bollocksed, and but we end up winning, and so he kept that up until they got beat one, and it was about 10 or 11 games that he kept it up for. And he said, he says, and you know what his answer to it was? We'll change the day to a Wednesday. He actually changed the day from a Tuesday to a Wednesday, and they went back on another 10 game, you know, unbeaten run. Like, you know, it was, but it relaxed the players. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think Graham Sharp put his hand in his pocket once, and he's pretty happy about that on those occasions. Being a lovely Scottish player that he was and is, lovely. But
Well, I like
you know,
this. I like because
relaxing and talking and.
well, my boss is watching, Alan. Jamie's watching, and he's asked a question. So I'm going to say, like, Alan Kennedy, the man with 5 Premier League, well, 5 League One titles, 2 European Cups, said that's the way forward to successful business. So the boss is watching. That's how we do it, Jamie. And he said, he said, Alan, did you enjoy the Mansfield Legends night in March? This is when you came along, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. Did you enjoy the Legends night that we did?
Yeah.
Good. Next time I'm at one of them shows,
did,
Alan, me and you will go
yeah,
for
the
a
audience were very, very. Yeah, the audience were very good as well, and I think I enjoyed the food in the back as well. The packet of crisps that I got, it was lovely. Yeah, and I did. I think I came. Listen, I think I came away from there, right? And you know, I hadn't honestly been drinking because I don't do that sort of thing. You know, as I say, I'm only drinking water now, right? It's only water, okay? It's a coloured water. It's but I came away from there and I did enjoy it. But I think I got a speeding ticket. Well, me get a speeding ticket? I haven't even got a car. It's not my car. It's somebody else's car. I was like, I was, I was, uh, anyway, I think I've got to pay the fine or whatever, like, you know. So, yes, that's what was Mansfield was all about, getting a a speeding fine, all right, okay. So, I was going down the motorway. So I gather, and you got your 50 miles an hour. Well, I might have been doing 51 or 52. I might have been doing 70. I think I was doing 70 rather than I wasn't watching. I should have been watching, but never mind. Yes, but it was great, great night. I really enjoyed the people there. They were fantastic.
Excellent, great answer. And like I said, next time you're on a Legends show and I'm there, we'll have a pint together, Alan. Right, Steve Glasgow it says, Alan, I'm a grassroots coach. Can you give any advice to coaches to keep the kids motivated and working hard during the current situation? And Steve, the answer is don't take the kids out for a pint on Wednesday night is the first thing. But like, what advice have you got, Alan, for a grassroots coach to keep kids motivated?
I mean, you know, kids are very important. That you know, like, you know, if you look at the Liverpool's kids at the moment, you know, they're doing so well to get the chance. I think, you know, you've just got to believe that you're giving them the right education. You're telling them how to play the football, and sometimes it's about football as well. You know, you know, not about the swearing, not about the foul language or fouling players or whatever it might be. You know, you play the game, you shake hands. We were always told when I was kids, like, you shake hands afterwards, no matter whether you've you know, you've had a bit of a nightmare or whatever. And that's what kids should learn to do. Their time will come if they're good enough. Their time will come, and you can't push them too much. You know, some parents think, oh, right, he's got to be the best individual at 10 years of age, or 12 years of age, or 15. It doesn't matter, as long as he gets that chance to be a professional footballer. That's the main thing for me, being given the chance and taking the chance. You take it in the right way. But what advice do you give kids? You know, all kids are different now, and they might not want to take that advice. Me being an old-fashioned type of coach or a trainer.
There we go. Right, I've got a question for you, Alan. Obviously, you're very
Finished.
renowned in Liverpool circles. This is a good. You're renowned for scoring like important goals. There's the goal against Madrid in the European Cup final, the penalty in the '84 Cup final, the goal against Man United, the equalised in the EFL Cup. Like, what's your advice for dealing with pressure in these high pressure, intense situations? Because it didn't seem to bother you. You say like you were worried about playing for Liverpool and the pressure there, but you just went out and delivered in the big games. What was the secret?
Well, there wasn't a secret from my view. The secret was Ronnie Moran, who was honestly, he was always he was always telling me all the time, come on, push yourself, and you push yourself. He was constantly telling me from the sidelines, play the ball short, do this, find a red shirt, go forward, go backwards, hold him, do this. He was always, and I say words of encouragement, but he was shouting them at me, and I was listening. I was then doing what he told me to do. Sometimes he didn't mean, he got himself a bit annoyed the way I did things. I was very much of a bit of an individualist at the time, but I thought I was doing my job pretty well. And yes, I scored vital goals, and can we just talk briefly about that 1983 one against
Talk
Man United?
whatever you want, sir.
No, I don't want to talk about it because Steve Coppell was in the game, and he should have stopped me roaming forward, and I then have this shot from a stupid angle, a stupid shot, but Gary Bailey couldn't quite hold on to it, and in the end, it's into the back of the net, and I was absolutely tinkerboo, like we knew them were going to win the game. By the way, Liverpool gets stronger and stronger and stronger towards the end of the year, and I've forgotten your first question now, but let's not worry about it. But
That's all right.
I think
Couldn't
I
have been that
answered
good.
most of them anyway.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, does any of those goals, like the European
Yes.
goals, does any of them mean more than the others? Like the goal against Madrid or the goal in the '84 Cup final? Does any one that stands out more than any of the others?
To be fair, all goals are important. I think no matter who you are, no matter whatever, whether Kenny Dalglish or Ian Rush or Mark Hughes or Norman Whiteside can remember every goal they scored, but every goal is important. I remember every goal I scored because it's important to me. I didn't score that many, but if there was how many? 1, 2, 3. I think I scored 4. I don't know, four cup finals, something like that. Anyway, but I was, it wasn't about. It was about winning the game again. This Liverpool, dialogue to me was about winning the game. There's no point in me scoring 3 goals if we get beat 4-3. There's no point in if you're going to get beat, you must win the game, and consequently, winning games the most important. The most important thing in that '84 European Cup final, when I was given the chance to take the penalty, and I didn't know I was going to take the penalty until the final seconds. The pressure's on. The pressure. Can you do it? Can you cope with it? Well, it means I could cope with it. I coped with it rather well. Although my knees were shaking, I was coping with it rather well. So that's what you have to do. Mind over. You've got to you've got to make sure you do not fail. You do not let the people who are watching, the people who are on the TV, you don't let them down. That's the important side of it.
That is a great answer. Now I'm going to change the tact of the interview just a little bit, and I'm probably going to get a bit of stick for this. I'm going to change the background because I'm now going to talk about Newcastle United. I will get stick for changing that, but first and foremost, Alan, the Newcastle United takeover that is being rumoured and has been rumoured all of lockdown. What's your take on Newcastle potentially getting taken over and getting themselves to the top end of the Premier League again?
I hope it happens, because it always happens, and it's always happened for the last 50 years, about Newcastle United boardroom problems, things that you know, if we get, I say we, if Newcastle get somebody who is willing to put A, money into the club, B, not to take it out, and C, sort of like get some better players if that's going to be the case. But they've got to have stability. You know, I've not
Yeah.
seen that at Newcastle for quite a while. It might be the Keegan era, the Bobby Robson era. We've not seen it at Newcastle for that many years, and it's sad. It really, those fans, they're so loyal, but they're so disappointed when they come away. Okay, they're broken-hearted sometimes that they, you know, their team hasn't won or got a result or something like that. But you want to see a performance out of it, and we haven't seen
Yeah.
enough performances from the Newcastle players. You know, it's as simple as that. If some of the players are not good enough, you as manager, you've got to say, right, sorry, but got to go. But you've got to have the money to back it up. And, you know, hopefully, if this consortium comes together, takes Newcastle over and promises the manager, you know, whoever that might be at the time, or who, you know, whether it's now, he must have the money to buy his players.
That's what it. What are your memories of your time at Newcastle, though, Alan? Because you were there for a long, long time. What are your memories of your time playing at St James's Park and playing under Joe Harvey as well, of all people?
He was he gave me my debut in 1972. I mainly remember it being a team of individuals, a team of
Okay.
players that didn't particularly gel together. It wasn't about Malcolm McDonald being the centre forward playing for England and scoring goals. If he scores, then Newcastle win the game. That wasn't the case because we were weak minded people. You know, the players were some of them were half decent, but
Yeah.
they just couldn't put a pass together. They didn't have any. There's nobody to sit them down and say, listen, this is how we play the game. This is how we play football. Nobody did that. Joe Harvey to a certain extent, but Joe was a bit more longer ball. The shorter ball didn't come in. Gordon Lee took over. That wasn't really that successful. Richard Dinnis, Bill McGarry. And then when you get Kevin Keegan go in there as a player and Terry McDermott, that's when they start under, I think it was Arthur Cox, that's when they start to realise, hey, we've got a good team. We can play with the best, and some of the best ever games were Newcastle against Liverpool back in
Oh, yeah.
the 90s. So they can do it. They can do it, but they've got to get the fundamentals right. No boardroom, people coming in and saying, we don't agree with that. We want, you've got to get the right manager in and take it from there. And once they do that, then they'll go places. They will go places because they have the support to do it.
Yeah, they do. You also played with Bob Moncur, didn't you? Bob Moncur was in your teams, in a few of the teams you played in. What was it like having him as your captain? Because that's, again, one of the all-time great football captains in Moncur.
Yeah, but Bob was brilliant to me. He really was. He made sure him and another player called Frank Clark. Frank
Oh, yeah.
Clark went to Nottingham Forest in 1977, and he went there and he says, "Alan, you're taking my place. You'll be Newcastle's left back for the next 10 years. I've got to go to Nottingham Forest. They're struggling, but they've got Brian Clough." He won the European Cup twice at Nottingham Forest in the next 2 or 3 years, and there's me struggling at Newcastle. But Bob Moncur was honestly, and if I go back to Newcastle, I sometimes see Bobby at the games, and he's had a bit of a problem, with the cancer side of it, but you know. Um, I just think he was a fantastic guy to me. Really looked after me, made sure I was always looked after as a youngster, and put his arm around me if and told me where it all went wrong, and then I went home and cried in me pint of beer.
Well, speaking of Newcastle and things that all went wrong, it would be remiss of me not to mention the '74 Cup final. Like, what happened there, Alan? What's the truth behind that?
Well, first of all, we thought it was a jolly, the Newcastle players, and we went down on the Monday afternoon. The game's on the Saturday. We went down on the
Yeah,
Monday afternoon. We did a little bit of training on one of the days. We were socialising on 2 of the days, and all of a sudden, you're at Wembley. You're playing against, a pretty decent team, and it was just men against boys. We were the boys. They whipped us. I remember
yeah,
coming off at half time, and going to the dressing room, and Joe Harvey, lads, they they haven't done anything. They had honestly battered us. They battered us, and he said they've done nothing. They've run out of steam. They've got nothing. Keegan's finished, Toshak's finished, and highway. And honestly, we were run ragged, and it was 0-0 at half time. And I thought, oh my goodness me. Well, he's putting on a brave face anyway. And in the end, we obviously went back out for the second half, and they went bump bump, and it was 2-0 down. And I could just see Joe Harvey on the touchline reaching for another 20 cigarettes, because he was a bit of a smoker in those days, and he was like that. He puts one out and he lights another one, puts one out, lights another one, and he must have went through 20 cigarettes in the second half. They absolutely tore us to pieces. We didn't perform on any day. Malcolm MacDonald said what he was going to do. Well, he didn't quite do it at the time, but he was, he wasn't the only one, can I tell you? It was men against boys. We ended up losing 3-0. It could have been 6.
yeah.
And in the end, we came off the pitch and congratulated them. And I looked at, like, I think it was Bill Shankly's last game, if I remember rightly. Was that his last game? Bill
Couldn't tell you.
Shankly resigned after that, and I was just but and I wanted to go and play. I wanted to go and play for Liverpool. Honestly, I felt as though they were just head and shoulders above Newcastle.
Yeah, and they were.
Newcastle fans were just fantastic. The team, they really tried to keep the spirit alive, but no, it wasn't a big though. I was only 19 at the time, so um, you know, you. So I thought I had a good future in front of me, but not with It might have been Liverpool, but I wasn't. It took them a few years to get me to Liverpool, and so I ended up playing for them eventually, which was good.
Um, Going back to Liverpool, Nicky Park has a question. Going back to the stories we were talking about earlier, says Mr. Shankly gave you something for your nerves. Sounds like a funny story. So I must have missed that. But said Shankly gave you something for your nerves. Is that ring any bells?
Mm. Well, he he did, right. So on my debut, my first game, I remember going down the passageway going into the changing rooms, and I'm going down there, and I see Mister, Shankly coming towards me, and he said, "Hello, Alan," and I went, and I was like, I didn't know whether to bow or whether just to, right, whatever. and he said, "Are you nervous?" I said, "Well, I am a little bit." He says, "Well, here," and he gave me. I didn't know what they were, just me. I didn't know whether pills, sweets, or whatever, So anyway, he gave me a couple of things. I said, "Okay, right, So anyway, I went into the changing room and I thought, what's he giving me? And I went in, and there were 2 boiled sweets, and I thought he'd given me, because I thought he'd given me some drugs. And do you remember there was a player? I'm going to get his name, Jimmy Johnston, who was playing for West Bromwich Albion, who got, I think, banned or whatever for taking drugs. And I thought, Bill Shankly's giving me drugs, but I've got to take him. I've got to take him. It's Bill Shankly, and I'm going into me pocket. And when I tasted it, it was just a boiled sweet. It was just a boiled sweet, and he was taking my mind off the game. That was the thing about it, was he was taking my mind off the game, and because I was thinking about who we're playing, who am I playing against, and whatever. So it was funny, honestly. It really was. Yeah, it was a good memory. Thanks for reminding me about it. Yeah, but that was on my debut, my first ever game.
What a great story.
Hey.
I've
Great.
got a couple more questions.
Fantastic.
That is good. I've got a couple more questions for you, Alan. First one, Harry's Heroes. You were recently on that. How did that come about, and what was that experience like for you?
They were desperate for players to go and join them, and they didn't care who joined them as long as you've played for England. So anyway, I said, I put my name forward to an agent in the Northwest. I put my name forward, and they said, "Okay, well, let's see." And they came back and said, "Yeah, we can do with the left back. Okay, would you like to come down?" So I went down, and Razor Ruddock was playing outside left. I said, "What are you playing there for?" He says, "I'm struggling." He says, I've just got an injury, and I've got this, and I've got that." And oh dear, right, okay. And he said, "Whatever you do, don't give me the ball." So anyway, we played a game, and so I've been on Harry's Heroes for about 3 or 4 times, and the lads are absolutely fantastic. They are so nice and so good, and I didn't realize what it was all about. About the mental conditions of players and this, that, and the other. I should have been there. I should have been first pick. The mental players, the problems I've got. Oh my God. Oh no, but it was great. I loved being part of Harry's Heroes. I really enjoyed it, and they were a lovely set of lads. So
Good. Another question. We spoke about Frank Clark going to Forest. It would be. Are you right?
Keep looking.
Cool. I was going to talk about the game between Liverpool and Forest in '79. Liverpool champions of Europe versus champions of the league. Liverpool Forest. What was that game like for you? Because that kind of lives on in memory as a massive game in English football. And did you get to meet Brian Clough? I've lost him.
Well, I mean, Liverpool Forest were the 2 top teams. I think Forest won the league in 78 or 77 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They were a top team. They were a really good team. And I always remember, I see it, no disrespect to him, a short, fat outside left. called Robertson, and he terrorised Liverpool. Phil Neal didn't like playing against him. I didn't like playing against him. We had Archie Gemmell in the mid. They had Archie Gemmell in the midfield. They had players, I'm telling you now, that were playing out of their skin, and they were fantastic. And Frank was just part of that. He said, I kept giving the ball to the little fat bloke on the wing, obviously John Robertson at that particular time, and you know, they had good centre forwards, they had good midfield players that we couldn't.
I've lost him. I've lost Alan Kennedy. That was a shame. I mean, we have gone past the hour anyway. So what